Hello and a warm welcome to Smart Min's Business Series Smart 24 TV, where we drive your business 24/7 with Joachim Business. Well, my name is Masi Kitsime and I'm with Doreen Kemdisha, and today is the 22nd of May. Just a few days to wrap up the month of May. When you exclude the weekend, it will be left with a very few days and we enter the budget month. So are you ready, Uganda? Because now, as it looks, the budget has become bigger and bigger, and you're going to contribute one way or the other to finance this budget.
Yes.
Well, a very good morning to you. Good morning, Doreen.
Good morning, Mercy.
Yeah.
Delightful day it is, right?
Yeah, it is a good morning.
22nd of May,
Oh, yeah.
2024.
This year is running by leaps and bounds. I do not know what people have really arranged for themselves to make sure that as years like these run that fast, they are ready to take on everything. Yeah, now that money is really scarce.
Yes, and the taxes are all over the place. Yeah. But the great thing about being on Smart 24 TV is that you get to have the latest insight, you get to have the latest tips as well, as long as keep it positive minded. That's very important as well. If you wake up in the morning and you're all key and doom and loom, your day will go downhill as well. So we always encourage our viewers, please keep it positive, make the right business decisions, and all will turn out just well. And if at all nothing has come out very well for you yesterday, please pick yourself up and move on. But because every day is an opportunity to rectify any wrongs that could have happened the day before. So it's a great day, this 22nd of May 2024. So keep it positive.
Yeah, so on that note, actually, we're going to be looking at agriculture. We're still looking at we are going to be looking at seeds of innovation, looking at the tech for future farming.
For future farming.
The kind of technology that people are using lately.
Yes.
Or I don't know if they're in the future. People are already in the future. They're already in the future, and they're already starting on this. There is technology that is used to track weather patterns. To track pests.
Yes.
Pests, and find pesticides for the different crops.
This is a very interesting topic, and for the viewers out there, we're going to be looking at the agriculture sector actually throughout this entire month and part of next month. One, because it's very key for the economy, but also because of the implications to this country, to the economy and this country as well. Looking at some of the innovations and tech, there's been quite a lot of adoption of the incoming emerging trends, emerging practices. We're going to be giving you some insight and looking at some of these all throughout the next couple of weeks. Interestingly though, it's not about, it comes down to basic survival. It comes down to basic survival, whether it's the seedlings, whether it's the practices. The farmer right now is thinking, how do I increase the yield on my little acre? Yes, on my little acre with the least inputs as much. So you're getting to see quite an adoption, especially in the rural areas, an adoption of high quality seeds. You're getting to see quite a lot of fixation on irrigation because of the weather vagaries these days. And those are some of the things that we're looking at. There's not been, the tech adoption is a little bit difficult. It's very slow. And you remember last time, earlier on this week, we actually talked about it, Mercy, and we said sometimes it's the electricity, sometimes, 35%. Yes, only 35%. And of tech on digital use, really.
That is huge, actually. You may think it's just 35%, but even if it was 1% higher than the global, trust me, 35%. Now we're looking at down to a Ugandan.
Yeah.
By the time it gets in Uganda, it's like at 65.
Yes.
So how is that person, a farmer, going to purchase such technology? Yeah, the irrigation. People are still using bottle for irrigation, which is innovation as well. I love it.
Yes. And there was this comic stance when the president actually brought out and had his little bike and came about and said, use the bottle. But I think to him what he was actually reaching out for was start wherever you are. Start wherever you are, even as we look at different funding options to be able to upgrade agriculture to the next. And most people made fun of it. You know, they made fun of it, said places like Kenya, our friends just next door, using, you know, real drip irrigation, complete with the piping and everything and greenhousing, whereas as for us, we're still advocating for...
That is what we have at the moment. That is what we have. We have a lot of plastics. Why not make use of the plastics? And it requires water.
Yes.
How many farming, unless you're going to dig underground, and it's quite expensive digging.
It is. It really is. You look at, you know, districts that have so much potential. Districts Soroti, Tororo, those are places that really run out, that really get so dry.
No, exactly.
And yet they have so much unused land and very underutilized resources. So what can be done? But great thing, we should be having within this week and next week a couple of different guests coming to give us some insight and highlight about some of the alternative irrigation methods, especially harnessing solar using. So it's going to be a very exciting week in regards to that. Yes.
So I mean, when someone talks about technology, there maybe, I would say, maybe improved mechanization.
Yeah.
I don't need to, you know, work, and you know, it helps in increasing productivity.
Yes.
Yeah, and lessens you know, exhaustion. You know, a space where I had to employ 100 people, you're employing maybe like 20 or 30. So
you save quite a lot.
Machinery for tilting the land. You have what for?
But it's also faster. It's also faster, and this works out quite well in the, you know, eastern flat areas, eastern, northeast. But when you're talking about western areas, apart from Tungamo and places like that, but talking about areas that are hilly, you know, Kabalik Soro, that, and Bushenyi. Bushenyi sort of like has a very undulating, you know, gentle roads, but hills. But when you come to Kabalik Soro, these are really very sharp areas. So maybe take the like of Kapchora, which is using donkeys. It has really worked for them. It has really worked for them, but donkeys, I'm yet to see some in Kisoro. And have you seen any donkeys there?
I know. If they're there, they're for attraction.
Yes, purposes.
Yeah.
And maybe these are some of the things that we could look at, but also oxen are still being used, and the plows, oxen plows are still really being used in the northeast areas. Very, very actually, very common to see. But the rest of the areas, it's still hand hoe. It's still hand hoe. You've got quite a number of people beginning to use, you know, the tractors, especially on the flat areas within the north. But the challenge about it is that especially when it's a cooperative, when they come together collectively, you find out that there are challenges with the fuel, and worse still when it breaks down. The tractor breaks down. Getting those particular spare parts is very expensive. So this is where now the linkages may be to our people down there. You know, the different people down there who are fabricating all these parts here should come in. There should be maybe a stimulus to ensure that some of these people downtown who are making this wonderful machinery can be able to make up those small parts. So that instead of buying it at 15,865, you know, you can be able to get it maybe at 500,000 or 600,000.
Which portable and affordable.
Yes.
You know, because now like a truck, what is it? The one that is used to tilt land, and it's quite heavy. It could be used for communal purposes. You can't have it. Even if you had it as an individual, you'd at least have to lease it out. You know?
They really have issues. These tractors are welcomed. They are welcomed normally given, by either sometimes by government projects or even, you know, even philanthropists. But when they get there and they break down, and then there is something like 6 million needed, there's nowhere that money is going to come from. So they just let it rust because of one particular spare part. But you do have these guys down here in Kibuye and all these different places, our small, you know, machine makers. You know, they had something that went viral quite some time back, a couple of years, the treadmill pump, you know, for irrigation. That was wonderful. You know, wonderful. It's quite suited our local context. So if at all they came up with different machineries, there should be some stimulus package really given to these.
What about the one for drying? I saw the one for drying as well during the wet season.
Drying? How was that?
Drying, the solar.
Yes.
They use solar to dry the crops like maize or maybe coffee.
The grain?
Yeah.
Or the grain
Yeah.
they harvested?
Instead of during seasons when it's raining heavily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Production has to continue. Honestly, there is now where we are now. There is no excuse whatsoever. It rained.
It did.
If you're exporting to a country,
they don't want to know that.
You have to be ready for whatever seasonal changes.
Yes.
Okay. If it has been too much sunshine,
figure it out.
Figure it out.
But look at the water harvesting systems. Look at the water harvesting systems, really. Yes, it's very expensive. Not only just as you mentioned, drilling those wells, but also putting in those particular, digging up. Yes, digging up to put in those valley dams. Digging up is very, very expensive. So sometimes if subsidies are there and maybe some particular support is given to those farmers, I think it would make agriculture better and much easier. It's going to be an interesting topic.
Yeah, I know. I would love to go in a farm and just there's scan a crop with a pest and it comes get this and ABC you're done. You're going to the what is it called where they buy those pesticides and you can get faster deliveries.
I think there are some right now. You have most of those the sellers actually getting down in most of the villages because that's where they need it the most. You have them, but then you've also had a couple of them get onto the apps. Have their apps so that you can be able to make an order and maybe be linked faster. Now the challenge is that, of course, with challenges, not only just internet but power. Charging and also the cost implications of having a smartphone is very difficult for the farmers down. We're talking about now the grassroots farmers, not the ones within the urban areas who stay within the urban, the different towns in the rural setting and then go back and do some agriculture. We're talking about the people that wake up at the farmers that wake up at 5 and you find them in the gardens.
And don't need to buy seedlings.
Even if you gave them a smartphone, unless it was collectively owned and put somewhere so that there is dissemination of information, and that can work, Mercy. It can work because you can put it at a particular person's home who has maybe solar power and can charge it faster, and then they can have their weekly meetings. Weekly meetings about what is happening. Maybe that is the only way really tech can do it and go faster collectively, I believe. Yeah.
Well, that and much more later on at around 8. But of course, right now we're going to see what is happening into the press, what is happening in Uganda and all over the world. Well, with me I have the monitor and of course making headline as Ibanja holders score a big win over landlord. Okay, of course this is according to the land law. Now landowners have not yet shown up for 12 years, risk losing. Landowners who have not shown up for 12 years risk losing their land to both registered and unregistered occupants. People flew out.
Yes and yes.
I've been making a call, people are not coming.
Yes.
We are owning it by default. We can't wait for people. I mean, there is land free. No one is coming to claim it.
Yes.
And of course, a development likely to have a far-fetching ramifications across the country. And of course, looking at islands, low floating islands caused brief shutdown in Naluwale Dam. I'm seeing right here. Wow. Uganda is complicated. We have floating islands, and of course, still, people are still mourning the death of the Iranian president.
Yes.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
and of course, here the president of Uganda saying they have lost a key partner. And of course, the rise in night attacks worries urban residents. Have you seen recently the videos? I was shocked. I saw one and I don't know if these guys have elevated in skills or whether they learn Tai Chi or Karate.
Yes.
Someone just jumped and I don't know if the head fell off. I don't know if they had like, I just saw someone fall down and you see, that is why I was telling you, there is money is not available these days. So people are looking for ways of survival.
Yeah.
Children are still going to school.
Children have started.
Yeah,
They've started.
The boarding schools.
They've started, but the turn up in schools is a little bit low. There's not as much money in circulation.
The taxations that are happening. What do you think? That is, you see, that Ugandans, that's the only solution they think. Cut. Let's steal.
Well, Mercy, when it comes down to that, it's really it's very concern. It's very concerning, really, because we had this. We commented upon this last term, at the beginning of last term, and mentioned that most of the school directors were talking about a very low turn-up. We're talking about a huge debt with the school, but also delays in clearing up their debts with the banks. And by the end of the term, most schools were still really talking about the debt, the huge debt, and how most parents had not been able to pay most of these dues, the school dues. So most of the schools, actually very many schools, most of the parents were not able, last term, within first term. So you can imagine they've closed off, and there's still a very huge debt. Now you're setting up for another term, and still the parents
in just the shortest time possible. I mean,
3 weeks. 3 weeks. So it's quite a challenge. Even if you get out right now, the majority of schools are not, it's taking them longer. At first it used to be maybe the turn-up would be within 1 week, but now it's taking them longer. You have children that basically take a month, a month to turn up to school, and they still have debts from the term before. So it's not such a rosy picture right now in our education system.
Lately, honestly,
it isn't.
It is expensive.
It is, yeah. And someone was saying, why shouldn't there be a cap, on the school fees? whereas you have the entrepreneurs come in and they are bringing something to the table to be able to expand further. But there should be a cap. This was mentioned. It was just hinted upon, I think, last year. It was just hinted upon with the reopening from the pandemic. It was hinted upon. But you still have 3.5, 4 million, 5. It is exorbitant. Something must be done. Something must be done, about this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And someone also in the same breath said, you know what, why don't you take you have the option, take your kid, take your kid, but there must be fairness. There must be fairness at the same time. There must be fairness. You have seen a skyrocket in fees, in fees. And most of and this is why there's quite, we're talking about the farmers right now, they're failing to save, yes? They are failing to keep their maize within their granaries. Why? Because they're tapping out. You get all these different things and then, you make your harvests, which are really not as bumper harvests as they used to be. And then after that, you have to sell off at the lowest price possible to be able to raise 1.3 for your child in Toro, to be able to raise 1.4 or 800 for your child. It's ridiculous. So I find there is hunger within the villages. There must be something.
Yeah, but of course I thought the ministry had proposed to, it's just that maybe there's no regulation whatsoever on what should be done. It's just that where the problem is now there is a surge of private schools.
Yes.
And of course they perform highly compared to the, let's say traditionals, the USE and the like.
And UPE.
So, I mean, it's the only option that parents have at the end of the day. Because if you go to different USE and UP, they are really.
No, you still have those. You have the Kitantes, the Nakaseros. Yes, those schools are still doing quite well. They are still doing quite well. The challenge is that the teacher-student ratio is so wide. You have so many children within the classrooms and fewer teachers. So there is quite a huge workload for the teachers.
Attention, if you had, depending on the problem your child has, they wouldn't give them much attention.
They wouldn't. But you also have systems whereby this has been debated upon, because the ministry, I believe, really cracks down heavily on tutoring within the holidays. It does. But it's still ongoing. You find it here and there in different houses and this and that.
Yeah.
But the reality about it is that these schools, the UPE schools, the USC schools, still have great potential. If only a couple of things, especially in regards to literacy. That's also another thing that I'm very passionate about in regards to literacy and whether there's active reading. You have Dear Day, but is it actually there or it's still theoretical? You know, you have the phonics approach to reading, but and schools have invested quite a lot of that, but how often are children reading on their own? Some of these different things are things that really continue to tag us down. Even when you have great infrastructure, when the government is still putting in lots of monies in putting up infrastructure, hiring teachers, but you find out that these different systems, especially the literacy systems, are really still non-functional, very defunct in one way or another. So that is it.
Well, of course, talking about agriculture, the president tasked farmers on coffee value addition.
Oh, yes.
And I'm seeing here, he was in Tungamo.
Yes, in Rashamiri, in Kajara.
Close, very close. He's home. He's home and home of majority.
Yes, but you know, interestingly, Mercy, about this, it's not even that. You know, the president has really been rooting for coffee and value addition. Value addition, he continuously, that's like a song right now, because he says out of the 460 billion, that's 1750 trillion global coffee value. Museveni says coffee producing countries only take $25 billion and Africa gets only 2.4, that's 9 trillion, yes, with most of it going to Uganda, which is now producing 9 million bags, and we're still behind. Yes, and he says over and over, the battle of coffee, we have to stop the hemorrhage of money, because Africa has been bleeding for a long time. He's been drumming this for quite a while, and with all reason, value addition. But this has also increased. Yes, this has also really increased. There's quite a lot of awareness. Kudos to the coffee development, you know, and all the other different partners, because there's been quite a lot. You have areas that are embracing coffee. You have them actually move out into no longer drying on the ground like they used to, because it decreases the quality. But now they are putting on 2 beds, you know, for drying, and they're trying as much as possible to get it to the next level instead of selling just the coffee, you know, the coffee beans in raw form. So he was saying, imagine the whole of Africa. The US's GDP is just like 20 trillion US dollars, and Africa should be talking of a GDP of 50 trillion. He said the government would deal with bananas, minerals, and all sectors. He is still pushing. And I believe this is why some of the other African leaders actually listen to him. We sometimes get to laugh at him, at our president, but the reality about it is that there is something great about behind the words. So let us see whether this, because quite a lot has been done with bananas, yes, within the some of the Western countries, you know, putting in the different value addition facilities. Now let us see if this Ntungamo plant can actually upgrade this facility.
I like the fact that there is one, because it collects, I think, from Bushenyi, southwestern Bushenyi, all over, because Western Uganda is actually much known for coffee production. Coffee, most of, at least in a place where there are 10 people, only 8 will have coffee in their garden. Because of intercropping with bananas. But you also have the same that was happening really in the Greater Masaka region.
But you still have, I think the Masaka region at one time was hit so badly by the coffee wilt. And then you also have crops such as huge cash crops such as vanilla, really sometimes taking over, and the different ones, you know, the different high value crops, especially within the Masaka area. And we're talking about Michana, PG, and these different Greater Masaka region. So there's still quite a lot, and maybe sometimes the approach is really to get into areas that maybe were underutilized at some certain times. You have really big chunks of land within areas such as Ntungamo that haven't really been utilized so far. So maybe if this was taken, the banana growing, there's already a facility within that area of Bushenyi maybe, and part of Mbara. If there was also coffee intercropped within that, you would have at least something significant coming in. You're harvesting the bananas, you're also harvesting the coffee. And you have something coming in. Like the president normally says, have something on a daily money coming in into your pocket on a daily, on a weekly, and monthly, and annually. And those ones that have really taken that approach, the model farmers, are doing quite well at the moment.
Well, we are going, we actually 1 minute to 7:30 a.m.
We ought to talk about this massive.
We are going to come back. We are coming definitely.
We ought to.
Coming back in our second hour to finish up the unfinished business. Well, of course, we're going in for a short break, and we're going to come back with what is happening in East Africa and beyond the borders. My name is Mercy
and I'm
Doreen, and this is Smart Men's Business. Catch you soon.
Smart 24, driving business.